honestly speaking, this flesh body is a kind of a constraint for us.
Yes.
Right? So we want to be free from the flesh bodies. Therefore, if we can choose the any kind of a robot, any kind of bodies, we can get the more freedom.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to create that kind of world. So I want to bring the more freedom to the societies by creating the many types of interactive robots, or many types of avatars. So that is, the enhancement of a human presence, my presence, right? I can have a different life with different appearance, with the different avatars. So robot technologies, avatar technologies, can increase our possibilities.
Yeah.
So forget about the constraint, forget about the tradition of the research areas, right? Just purely think about the basic questions, right? And always we need to have a doubt.
First, if you can tell who you are for people first time listening to you, how you'd like to define yourself.
Well, probably I'm a roboticist. I'm creating the very human-like robot and some other the normal robot. But my main focus is the interactive robots. So 20 years ago, I started this project. Project for the human-robot interaction, and at the moment my purpose was to help the people by creating the interactive robots. I was studying the many aspects of interactive robots, but the most important aspect of that robotics research is to understand what human is by creating the very human-like robot. So I think that is my basic motivation.
Yeah, great. Maybe when I entered, I saw the Geminoid, the one resemble you. It was really a mixed feeling. It's very impressive. That's kind. How you get this idea to resemble exactly the human?
Originally, I studied computer science and computer visions, and then I was interested in artificial intelligence. So when I studied artificial intelligence, I found the importance of body properties. Embodiment is very important, right? Then I decided to study about the human-like robot itself. And when I have developed the interactive robots, always we were discussing about the appearance or design of a robot, and then I found the importance of appearance, human-like appearance. So this human-like appearance is quite important for the human-robot interactions. People always care about appearance. So then I have decided to study about the human likeness or human-like presence. Right. So, and by creating the very human-like robot android.
Maybe I'll ask you the question: what do you think may be still missing in the design? For example, in your office you have the one resemble you right now behind us, but what do you think missing when you try to understand things that designing android resemble human being? What's missing? Do you think after the work you have been doing so far?
So many things, that we need to study about. We need to investigate about the human likeness. The human likeness is, it is not so easy, to make a copy of humans because we don't have a definition of humans, right? The human, nobody knows the definition of the humans, but we can create something human-like, right? So, and at the same time, we are accepting the robot technologies in your bodies, in your daily life, right? So we are enhancing the abilities by using the technologies and robotics technologies, right? So the human and robot are tightly coupled, right? The first of all, the definition of human, this is very quite and basic. The question, what human is, right? So, but we want to understand, right? We want to attack to this very, very basic, the difficult questions, and therefore, I'm creating this very human-like robot, and So, well, so many missing parts, right? So the first challenge was the appearance,
Yeah.
right? So, and then, I made the, very human-like Android by using silicon, right? The appearance is okay, but the next step, then, we faced the difficulty of movement. So, we need, human-like robot need to have a human-like movement. And, but, the human-like movement is different from the robot movement. Developed software, right? So, so, so our movement is very smooth, and, this movement is for the, usually we use these gestures for the communications.
Yeah.
But we didn't use the, robot hands for the communications.
Yeah.
Right, so we need to, the study about the movement or gestures more. Yeah. And if we give the robot-like movement to the very human-like Android, it looks uncanny.
Yeah.
Right, so it looks like a zombie, right?
Yeah.
Right, so and we needed to avoid that kind of the problems, the uncanny valley problems. Therefore, what we did is that we just, limit the situations and the purpose of the Android and carefully design the movement, right? So now I'm moving the head and eyes and the bodies, right? Still we don't know how we can control this huge degree of freedoms and how we can generate this, the human-like movement. Still we are studying about that, right? But, if we don't give the human-like movement to the very human-like Android is going to be uncanny. Okay. Then the conversation, the verbal conversations, right? So if an Android looks like an adult, right? People expect to the Android have adult level intelligence. Right, adult level conversational abilities, but this is so difficult, and we don't have that kind of technology, right? So, there is no AI which can talk like adult, right? Yeah. So, and again, we needed to limit the situation and purpose, right? And if we the limit the situation and purpose, so we can develop the rule-based systems. For realizing the adult level conversations. Right? So 7 years ago, I started my project with the Android Erica. We have implemented the many functions to the Erica, and Erica could talk with the visitors maybe 5 minutes or up to the 10 minutes, and in the lobby of research institute. So if we can limit the situation and the purpose, right? So we can develop the adult level, the conversational abilities, the functions for the Android.
Yeah.
Right. So many things that we need to do.
I feel that you are so passionate about what you're doing here, but when you try every day to think about this problem, can you tell exactly the way you think the effort should be done? You now have the things for appearance, and you care about what's human. I think this is really interesting. But the part of to have adult intelligence, which represented in the Android, when you try every day think about that, what do you think the thing that you push every day to reach an answer, how we can achieve that? What is the way?
Yeah. So how we can approach to that?
When you try every day about the problem, this part.
Right.
Yes.
So that is the research, right?
Yeah.
So researcher need to have a very fundamental questions. So my case is what human is, right? And then we have a tool, the robot. So robot is a kind of a test bed for investigating the human likeness or human itself, right? So in order to install the human-like function to the robot, we need to study about the human-like functions first, and then we can implement it on the robot. And then if a robot became a more human-like, that we can verify our ideas, right? So always we are iterating on that kind of things. Find some ideas and verify that ideas with very human-like robots, right? So we are just iterating the understanding to understand humans and improving the robot. So once we can improve the robot, then we can have the more better the understanding on the world, about humans, and we can more up the think about the higher level of problems.
Yes. Maybe I want to ask you. You already have, I think, a preparation about the philosophy of humanity. But what kind of question can you list a question they think very fundamental for us if we achieved the level of intelligence of adult in Android, for example? What could be answers that we can recently answer what is human is? Can you share this question?
Well, the question is, in my case, is probably different from the traditional philosophy, right? Because my approach is, so we call our approach the constructive approach by creating the human-like robot based on the engineering, our knowledge, right? And so actually, if we carefully develop the program for the robot, so robot can interact with humans, and then the people can feel the emotions or consciousness sometimes, through interactions. But nobody knows what consciousness is. That the consciousness is a very the important issues in philosophy and cognitive science, right? But actually, we can feel the consciousness. Well, through the interaction with the android and the robot, right? And then once we could have that kind of a robot, then we can investigate the inside mechanism of the robot or android, and then we may find some hints of consciousness, right? So what consciousness is, what intelligence is. So intelligence, we don't know the human level intelligence.
Yeah.
Right? Deep learning is very, very simple, too simple, but humans have a more complicated mechanism in our brain, right?
Yeah.
And the intelligence is also the open questions and the multimodal integration, right? In order to interact with the other people, we use the visual information, the auditions and tactile sensations and gestures and eye contact. Our communication way are so complicated, right? And we need to think about these things. The embodiment is also, right? So it's the meaning of our bodies, and then we can attack to the very fundamental question: what conversation is, right? So we can have a different answers about the conversations, right? So many my research group, one of the group is studying about the conversations, the meaning of a conversation. That what is the purpose of the conversations? So by using, if we use a robot, so we can find the kind of a minimal the condition of a conversations, and then we can categorize the conversations by using the robots in many ways, very carefully. I need to explain about our purpose, right?
Yeah.
So, but it is not easy. It is not easy to simply define the conversations.
Yeah.
The conversation is quite ambiguous concept, right? So we believe that we can have a conversation, but it's quite difficult to clearly define what conversation is. But if we use a robot, we can study about the many various aspects of a conversation, right? For example.
We want to ask you quickly. I don't know if you saw, for example, Tesla. They introduced the robot Optimus. Did you follow this kind of humanoid robots by Tesla, for example? They tried to do something.
What?
Tesla. Yeah. Do you know
Tesla?
that?
Yeah, of course I know that.
What is your feedback about what?
Well, the Tesla is following still, their project is it's I think it's early stage for the robot development, right? So, the first step is that they need to catch up the Honda's technologies and Boston Dynamics technologies, right? And I'm not sure. Well, their goal is to develop the very cheap humanoid, right? So if they can achieve that, that's fantastic, right? So we can use the more robots in our daily life. But I'm not sure, when,
Yeah.
they can develop that kind of a very cheap, the biped humanoid. They usually takes a cost, right? So more than the 400,000 US dollars, for example, right? So that is the normal cost for developing the one, the humanoid in Japan. But,
Yeah. In Japan, how much is costing?
4,000 400,000 US
Okay.
dollar.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. It's,
And their target is how much is it? One
yeah.
Less than, I mean, less than
Yeah.
20,000 or something, right?
Yes.
Maybe around the 20,000
Yeah.
US dollar, right? It's very, very cheap, right?
Yeah.
One of the 20. It's amazing.
Yeah. Maybe I'll ask you, since you mentioned Boston Dynamic, you and your group here are focusing on designing these humanoid robots to understand human. But when we speak about applicability in real life, we have Boston Dynamics and we have here humanoid robots, for example. How do you see the competition?
I think, the very human-like robot Android is not so practical. This is a kind of test of it. But of course, if we carefully choose the situation and purpose, all right, so we may find some applications. So recently I have released, actually the yesterday, no, 2 days ago, I have released the Android of the minister.
Oh, nice. Can we have a look for it or not?
Yes, so you can check on the web, right?
Okay.
Konotaro, digital minister.
Okay.
Okay. That is a possibility. They can use the Android for, it's avatars.
Yeah.
It is not fully autonomous robot. It's avatars. Right? If they use the avatars, they can exist in many places.
Yes.
Right? So they don't need to travel. Right? They can just send the Android or an Android avatars to the distant place, and
Yeah.
so they can increase the activities very much, right? So, yeah. And but for the that is a kind of special case. Of course, I'm also using my Android for giving lectures, right? But for the normal people, they want to have a more cheaper robot, and of course it's possible to develop the very cheap small animation character like robot, right? We are also studying about that, right? And it depends on the situation and purpose, right? So we can have a very cheap robot avatars and very expensive Android avatars, right? And we can have the autonomous robot, conversational robots. So depending on the situation and the purpose, we can choose the best one.
How much does this cost?
This one is that is
Geminoid. Yes.
Geminoid. The full body Geminoid is 400 or something, 400,000 something.
Okay. So if you have the cheap, because I think in robotics we speak about being cheap, and do you have to compromise something like, I don't know, to make it a cheap Android for anyone to use it? How you imagine it?
It's a matter of mass production. If you order for example, 10,000 the Androids, we can make it very cheap, like the car, right?
Yeah.
Economy car is not so expensive, right? So, but that is, if we have the mass production, we can do the same things, but otherwise it's quite difficult.
How do you see reception so far? Maybe because it seems in Japan they more accepting to robotics technology,
right,
compared to the rest of the world. So what is the reception you received so far about Android? If everyone should have
in Japan, we don't. I don't have any problems. We can run the field test anywhere.
Okay.
Right. The people, they can accept the conversation with Android very much. And we don't see any problems, right? I'm not sure how well the
rest of the world,
the people in other world, they accept the Android, if they accept the robot or not.
Is it part of something?
But the children's response are identical. There's no difference. Probably it is a matter of education or a matter of religions. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Maybe I want to ask you again. Sometimes the feedback from what you do sounds creepy. You are interesting, intelligent, and you do something. It's quite different. It's not that not everyone doing what you do, but the perception sometimes it sounds creepy. For example, when you try to make yourself resemble the robot, and the robot it sounds interesting that you try to do something different, that it sounds scary for people that you're doing something. Not many people think the way you design what you do. Do you agree with that? I don't know.
Well, so you're asking about the my approach, right?
Yes, and also you also did I think a
Ah,
plastic
you know,
to
yeah.
resemble the robot also.
Probably usually the people, they have somewhat the constraint from
Yeah.
the religions, constraint of some cultures, but the scientists and researchers, we don't have any constraint usually. I think, but in my case, I just heard the basic questions, the some curiosities, right? And of course, I explained already that when I have created a mechanical looking robot, we got a big discussion about appearance. And then I found the importance of appearance. Right? People always talking about appearance, always checking the face and checking the clothes, right? So appearance is so important. Human likeness is so important for the people. So why we don't study about the appearance more carefully? That was my question, and I have decided to study about it. Right. So my approach is probably the most important things in my study is to develop the new research areas. Right. There are two types of research. One research, traditional research is to try to solve the unsolved problems already defined. The another approach is to define the problems by ourselves and develop the new research areas. So this is my side. Okay, so I think the most important the role of AI researchers and robotics researchers like me is to find a new problem, and define the problem and solve it. Right. So we need to do the two things. Right. So in order to approach to the human itself. Right. So we have a traditional approaches in the medical schools and the law schools and some economic schools. They're studying the humans from the economical aspect, from the medical aspect. But we can consider more different aspect, right?
Yeah.
So, and we're trying to develop the new research areas by finding the new research issues, and we are trying to solve it by using the robot.
So let me ask you about the philosophy and the design. You mentioned you were interested about the appearance of the robot, and we speak about robotics field. We have many problems so far, and the basic question is how make it affordable for people, how it's really can be usable and efficient, as you mentioned. And Android, it seems that in the future everyone should have Android that can be anywhere, everywhere, as avatar, for example. But the way the design, you think about this approach. What is your design or philosophy of thinking about this approach? And when you look
philosophical thinking for this approach,
yes, for designing Android and how make it cheaper. When you try to think about the iteration, what you mentioned, you care about the problem. What is the problem? And then I find solution. You're not doing that just for fun, but you have a problem here and you try to solve it and answer it through Android. But what is your philosophy in the design in general when you're trying to first? You mentioned the look, for example.
Okay, but I think that is a kind of a more practical engineering approach, right? So how we can design the better appearance, better robots for the many people. So the important thing is the diversities or variations. So we need to prepare so many types of robots. So because we have so many types of people, right? Each people they may accept the different types of robots. Some, for example, the elderlies and young children, especially for the autism kids. They cannot interact with very human-like androids, but they can interact with character-like robots, right? But as a receptionist, usually we expect to see human-like robot there. Android is better as a receptionist, for example, right? And I think the Android technology and robot technologies can enhance the human presence in many ways, and right. well, how can I say that? Well, um, you know, honestly speaking, this
Yeah.
flesh body is a kind of a constraint for us,
Yes.
right? So we want to be free from this the flesh bodies. Therefore, if we can choose the many, well, any kind of a robot, any kind of bodies, we can we can get the more freedom,
Yeah.
right? So I want to create that kind of world. So I want to bring the the more freedom to the societies by creating the many types of interactive robots or many types of avatars. So today we are focusing on the avatar technologies. So if I use the avatars, for example, if I use well, and my avatar is a Geminoid, right? I'm giving lectures by using a Geminoid. That is my avatars. But on the other hand, I'm using the very small cute robot, and and I'm also changing my voice. And I was selling the bread in a bakery, right? So this appearance is not good for selling the the bread in a bakery. But if I use the very cute robot, I can sell the bread and I can walk.
Yeah.
Right? I can have a different jobs, totally different jobs, and I can have a conversation with the children in a kindergarten, right? So that is the enhancement of a human presence, my presence, right? I can have a different life with a different appearance, with a different avatars. So robot technologies, avatar technologies, they can increase our possibilities.
Yeah. This is really impressive. I mean, maybe you have more experience, but how you get this idea is that like you have the freedom to different representation, like what you mentioned. And I don't, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think not many people think the way you think. What influenced you to think that way?
Well, I'm just well, my background is not so strong in some sense. Well, when I was the elementary school student, it was 12 years or 12 years or something, right? The adult people, maybe the teachers, they ask me to think about the human mind, right? And then, okay, I found, I thought like this. When I become the adult, I can understand what is thinking, what is the mind or heart, right? The adult people asking me to think about that. That means that they know what is thinking, what is the heart or what is the mind, right? Therefore, and then I was strongly interested in heart and mind or thinking, right? Do you have an answer?
That's so wild.
No, it's a so basic question,
Yes.
but so important, so usual the things for us, but nobody knows what thinking is, what mind is, heart is, right? Right. So that was my basic the questions when I was 12 years old, right? And then I was always thinking about that, and actually I was not so serious about the studies, right? I wanted to be an oil painter when I was the undergrad student in a university, but it is not so easy. Therefore, I just gave up and studied the computer science. At the moment, the computer became very popular, right? But I was the purpose of the artist is to represent the humanities on the campus. I'm trying to represent the humanity on the robots right now. I'm doing the same things, and I'm trying to answer to that question: what thinking is, what mind is, heart is. Right? I'm doing the same things as an artist.
That's very impressive. Maybe I want to ask you, what's still a challenge for you, Hiroshi? I mean, you working so hard on that, but still challenging. Something that's very challenging. What that challenge for you? To answer all this, you passionate, you have this sense of art.
But this is kind of unlimited, the challenge. There is no goal, right? The human. So if I develop the better technology, robot technologies, people are going to use that, and the people are going to change the definition of the humans. Right? They think about the maybe 100 years ago, about 50 years ago, right? we have distinguished the people who doesn't have arm and legs. But today, even if the people use a prosthetic arm and legs, right? So people, we don't distinguish, right? So we are same humans. So that means the technology is updating the definition of humans, right?
Yeah.
So flesh body is not the important for defining the humans. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means my final goal is to understand what human is, but the definition of a human is changing, as we develop the technologies. Therefore, always we need to follow the the basic questions.
You are right. You're right. Maybe I'll ask you, in that case, do you think there's sort of pushback against you in that the way you think how robot can enhance human? It's your idea is that human should be free from the body, and maybe people say that yes, it's just something still what we have. It's unique experiences, and we can understand how everything is happening in us. It's just mystery.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think people? I don't know if robotics community overall. Do you have some critiques, for example, or pushback on what you do, and how you respond to that?
Depends on the country, I think.
So countries.
But most interesting reaction from the Germany is in Germany. Half of the German people, they say that my approach is quite interesting. But another half of the people, they are getting a lot of influence from the philosophy that maybe a Kant or something. Sometimes they say something negative for creating a very human-like robots. But basically, if I explain about my motivations, so my motivation is to understand what human is, right? Almost all people, agree with my ideas. So I'm not sure they want to accept the very human-like robot, but they recognize the importance of my research approaches. Right? So far I didn't get the.
But you believe in what you do. I assume that you don't have to care about. You don't care about this negative opinion. I assume you're determined in what you do.
But this is the scientific research.
Yes.
Right? So most important mission of a scientist is to find new ideas. Right? And of course, when in order to use the technologies we have created, right, we need to carefully discuss how to use that technologies in the societies, right? And that is the role of a society. Okay. Of course, we need to join to that discussions, but the society is going to decide how they can accept the new technologies.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe since it goes then, I have a few questions for you. The first one, I don't know how do you see the robotics field. There's many applications and many things, but when you see the humanoid robots in a competition, not a competition, but we don't have so much robots in the market. We don't have that much. There's few players. So when you see in academia and also in the companies, how do you see the things play here?
Okay. So that is my another challenge, right? So in Japan, we have the eyeballs and the pepper developed by SoftBank, right? And they spend a lot of money, but we couldn't have and the eyeball is still, I think, the Sony is selling the eyeball, but the market is not so big, very small, right? And SoftBank is completely stopped to sell the pepper. Why? Because the cost and some applications.
Yes.
The most important thing is how nobody knows how to use a robot, right? But I think avatars. Now I'm focusing on the avatars, right? And I'm taking the big challenge. I launched the startup last year.
Okay, great.
Right. My company's name is Avita. And the mission is, to develop the computer graphics avatars. And the people, there's several companies right now, they are using our avatars for providing the conversational services. Which is better, chat or talk, right? Chat is not so convenient, right? So elderly, they don't like to type the small keyboard, but it's easy to talk with the avatars. Right? So one of the the web insurance companies, they highly evaluate the performance of avatars. Avatar is much better than the chat or telephone talk, right? And that kind of things already happens. And, and then my first challenge is to develop the real market with the computer graphics avatars. Then, if the society accepts avatars very much, then we can replace the computer graphics avatar with a robot. So
this is the next thing for you.
First, we need to develop the avatar market, and then and if that is so valuable, right? People want to use a more better avatars, more realistic avatars, right? And so that is a chance to deliver the robots in the societies, right? So we need to develop the task first, and then we can introduce the robot. But so far, the company just develop the robot and try to deliver the robot without strong applications.
Yeah, absolutely. That's excellent. I agree with you. Maybe since closing, I have these quick questions. Maybe the first one, what makes you maybe afraid of something, what you do in research? Sometimes you have a fear. Do you have fear sometimes when you try to do what you do in the research? Or you don't have any fears?
No, I don't have any fears, but sometimes I need to be careful about the model of Android.
What do you mean the model, like a perception of what?
No, some social issues. Right, so
you design by yourself. I mean, this robot resembles you, but in general,
this is just a copy by using the 3D scanner.
Okay.
Right, but I need to be careful about how to choose the model of Android. Right, so it may give us very strong social impact in a positive way and negative way, right? So, but I don't see other negative things so much. Right, this is fundamental, very fundamental, I believe. Right, so everybody wants to know what human is. Right? This is a very straightforward approach.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was asking you what kind of truths you're trying to achieve or answer in your lifetime when you try to think of
probably your question is just a lifetime goal of my study.
Yes, and also in you as a person. I mean, it's clear that you represent what you believe in, the robots, and I think this is I find this really interesting. And it seems that maybe you have other thoughts in your mind about what you want to achieve in your lifetime.
This is a very fundamental question. So always I'm thinking about the meaning to survive in this world.
Meaning of the world. Okay.
Yeah, and why I have to survive. I need to be here. I need to survive in this world. Yeah. Always I'm thinking about that. But therefore I'm trying to understand myself and humans, right, by using a robot. So in order to survive in this world, I'm studying. Right. So I think this is the goal of humans. I think, right?
Yeah.
So the Pascal said, human is. I forget the English name of that. Always we are thinking plant or something. All right, so I'm really think so.
Maybe the first thing I was asking you if you have any final words I'd like to say for people listening, and if anything they should consider while thinking about human-robot interaction. Maybe people work in this field or research, but they should consider.
Oh, I see. Always the fundamental question is very, very important. Important things so forget about the constraint, forget about the tradition of the research areas, right? Just, purely think about the basic questions, right? And, always we need to have a doubt about the almost all things. So how about the bodies? How about the definition of humans? How about the intelligence, right? We cannot clearly explain, right? If that is some daily things, well, always, in a daily conversation, we are talking about the heart and the mind and, the feeling of presence. These are quite unknown, right? Right. So, well, think about the just usual things, right?
Yeah.
Like, right. And then, and try to clearly answer, clearly explain what is that, right? Probably we cannot, clearly explain that, right? Then, we can find the many fundamental things, by thinking about that and by imitating with the robot, right? We understand how difficult is it. So that is my approach, and that is, I think that if you take that kind of approach, always you can find new research topics and new research, new ideas about humans.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Hiroshi. It was such a great pleasure talking to you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming.